Most people go to sleep rehearsing fear without realizing it. Quiet doubts replay. Old memories speak louder in the dark. Confidence weakens not during the day, but in these silent hours. Tonight, that pattern changes. As you listen, the mind is being guided towards steadiness, certainty, and a calm inner strength that does not depend on circumstances. Confidence is not loud. It is not forceful. It is the quiet assurance that forms beneath awareness and shows itself later through action. The subconscious decides this long before you speak or move. As these sounds continue, that deeper decision begins to shift in your favor, gently and without resistance. You do not need to convince yourself of anything. Effort is not required here. Confidence grows best when the conscious mind relaxes its grip. In this state, new ideas slip past old defenses and settle where habits are formed. That is why this works best as you drift closer to sleep. Notice how your breathing slows. The body knows when it is safe to release control. In that release, the subconscious becomes receptive. It listens closely now, absorbing impressions that will shape how you carry yourself, how you speak, and how you respond when challenges appear. Many people believe confidence comes from success. The truth runs deeper. Success follows confidence because inner certainty changes behavior automatically. These hours are not about fixing the outer world. They are about building the inner foundation that makes strength feel natural. You may have tried to think positive before, only to feel it fade under pressure. That is because thought alone is fragile. What endures is belief impressed repeatedly in moments of calm. Repetition and relaxation creates permanence where effort cannot. As these ideas repeat, they introduce a new inner agreement that you can trust yourself. Trust dissolves hesitation. When hesitation fades, action becomes smoother, clearer, and more decisive. This is how confidence expresses itself quietly, consistently, without strain. There is no need to visualize images or repeat phrases out loud. The subconscious understands tone, rhythm, and feeling. It learns through exposure. What it hears often enough, especially in this state, becomes familiar, and familiarity becomes identity. You may notice that fear feels less convincing as minutes pass, not because it is fought, but because it is no longer fed. Confidence grows when attention shifts away from imagined outcomes and toward inner stability. This stability is being reinforced now. Many people live from reaction rather than intention. Reaction is rooted in old conditioning. Intention grows from a steady inner center. As sleep approaches, that center strengthens. Tomorrow's responses are being shaped tonight. If you have ever felt confident briefly and then lost it, this explains why. Confidence must be installed at the subconscious level to remain unshakable. These hours are building that installation slowly, thoroughly, and without emotional strain. Notice how urgency dissolves. The need to prove anything fades. In its place comes a sense of quiet authority. This is not arrogance, it is alignment. When you feel aligned, others feel it too, and interactions begin to change naturally. Confidence does not announce itself. It reveals itself through posture, tone, timing, and persistence. These are guided by inner programming, not conscious effort. What is impressed now will express itself later, often when you least expect it. As you drift toward sleep, the conscious mind loosens control. This is the gateway. In this state, impressions sink deeper and stay longer. The subconscious accepts suggestions as instructions rather than ideas, shaping future reactions automatically. You may drift in and out of awareness. Let that happen. The deeper mind remains alert, recording patterns and reinforcing stability even while you rest. This is where lasting change is formed. In the days ahead, you may notice subtle differences. Decisions feel easier. Doubt pauses before speaking. You recover faster from setbacks. These are signs of an inner shift already in motion. Confidence begins as an expectation before it becomes a behavior. When you expect yourself to handle situations well, you do. That expectation is being strengthened now, quietly replacing old uncertainty. Stay with the sound as long as you can. Duration deepens impression. Each moment reinforces the idea that you are capable, steady, and self-directed. The mind learns its standards through repetition. This is not about becoming someone else. It is about removing the noise that hid your natural strength. When the noise fades, confidence feels familiar, almost obvious. By the time sleep takes you fully, the work will already be done. When you wake, you may not remember every word, but you will feel the difference. Confidence will no longer be something you try to summon. It will be something you carry. Quiet, stable, unshakable. I have spent the greater part of my life studying men at the very moment when they are least aware of themselves. It is not during their hours of labor, nor during their moments of speech, that their true habits are formed. It is in the quiet hours, when the world has withdrawn its demands, and the mind is left alone with its own impressions, that character is most deeply shaped. Most people do not realize this truth. They believe their days determine their future, yet it is their nights that decide it. When the body rests and the conscious will loosens its grip, the deeper mind begins its work. Whatever is most familiar, whatever has been repeated often enough, rises to the surface and speaks with authority. In these silent hours, many men unknowingly rehearse fear. Old disappointments replay themselves. Doubt whispers questions that were never answered. Regret revisits scenes that can no longer be changed. The mind listens, accepts, and stores these impressions without resistance, because no effort is made to interrupt them. Confidence does not weaken because a man lacks ability. It weakens because fear has been practiced quietly and consistently, without challenge. What is practiced becomes familiar. What is familiar becomes believable. And what is believed soon becomes identity. I want you to understand this clearly. Confidence is not lost during moments of failure. It is lost during moments of unguarded thought. The mind does not distinguish between what is true and what is repeated. It accepts whatever it hears most often, especially when the body is at rest and the will is relaxed. This is why these hours matter. Confidence, in its true form, is not loud or forceful. It does not announce itself. It does not argue. It exists as a quiet inner agreement, a settled expectation that one can meet life as it comes. This agreement forms beneath awareness long before it shows itself in action. You may have noticed men who move through difficulty without strain. They do not hurry. They do not explain themselves unnecessarily. They do not appear anxious to convince anyone of their worth. This quality is not learned through effort alone. It is absorbed through repetition. When the mind is calm and receptive, the subconscious mind governs habit, posture, tone, and reaction. It decides how quickly you recover from disappointment, how steadily you speak under pressure, and how firmly you act when hesitation would once have appeared. This mind is most receptive when the conscious effort is absent. That is why sleep is not merely rest. It is instruction. Most men go to sleep allowing their thoughts to wander freely, believing that nothing of importance is occurring. Yet in truth, the mind is recording impressions, reinforcing patterns, and rehearsing identity. Whatever is allowed to play repeatedly becomes the standard by which future reactions are measured. Fear grows strong, not because it is powerful, but because it is familiar. Confidence grows strong in the same way. You do not need to convince yourself of confidence. Convincing belongs to the conscious mind, and the conscious mind resists. What endures is familiarity. When confidence becomes familiar, it no longer requires effort. It expresses itself naturally, as breathing does. I have observed men of modest education who inspired immediate trust wherever they went. Others, with greater learning, failed to command attention. The difference was not intelligence, it was inner steadiness. Their minds had accepted certainty as normal. Consider the young man who entered the offices of a great inventor with no position promised and no assurance offered. He carried no recommendation beyond his own conviction. He did not plead for opportunity. He expected it. That expectation shaped his manner, and his manner shaped the response he received. The world responds to expectation more readily than to request. Confidence precedes success because it alters behavior automatically. When a man expects himself to handle situations well, he does so without strain. When he expects failure, he hesitates, softens his voice, delays action, and confirms his fear without realizing it. These patterns are formed quietly. During the day, the mind is distracted by activity. At night, it turns inward. Whatever thoughts are allowed to linger sink deeper. This is why repetition during rest is so powerful. The mind accepts suggestion without argument, because argument requires effort. As you listen now, there is no effort required. You are not being asked to force belief or repeat phrases aloud. The subconscious understands tone, rhythm, and feeling. It learns through exposure. What it hears often enough becomes familiar, and familiarity becomes acceptance. Notice how the body responds when effort is removed. Breathing slows, muscles release tension they have carried all day. In this state, the mind becomes receptive, almost curious. It listens without suspicion. This is the doorway through which confidence enters quietly. Many people attempt to build confidence through daytime effort alone. They speak affirmations forcefully, attempt to reason themselves into courage, and push against doubt with willpower. These efforts fade because they do not reach the source. Confidence is not installed by force. It is installed by repetition in calm. When the mind hears steadiness spoken calmly, without urgency, it begins to accept steadiness as normal. Over time, the mind stops questioning it. Doubt loses its place simply because it is no longer fed. You may notice that as these minutes pass, urgency dissolves. There is nothing to prove here, no standard to meet. Confidence grows best when the mind feels no pressure to perform. This absence of pressure is not weakness, it is safety. The mind learns most effectively when it feels safe. Safety tells the subconscious it may relax its defenses. In this relaxed state, impressions settle deeply. The mind begins to associate rest with strength rather than vulnerability. This association changes how you wake, how you stand, and how you respond the following day. Confidence begins as expectation. Before it becomes action, it becomes a quiet assumption. I can handle this. That assumption shapes posture, timing, and tone without conscious effort. Others sense this immediately. People do not respond to your thoughts. They respond to your presence. Presence is shaped by what the subconscious expects. When the mind expects steadiness, the body follows. This is why confident men often appear unhurried. They are not racing their own doubt. They are not trying to arrive somewhere to prove themselves. They are already there, inwardly. Fear, on the other hand, creates hurry. It urges explanation. It seeks reassurance. These behaviors announce uncertainty without a word being spoken. Confidence removes the need for these signals. As you drift closer to sleep, the conscious mind loosens control. Thoughts slow. Awareness softens. This is not a loss of attention, it is a shift of authority. The deeper mind remains alert, recording impressions even as the surface mind rests. You may drift in and out of awareness. Let this happen. The work continues regardless. The subconscious does not sleep. It listens continuously, shaping future reactions quietly. Repetition is the law by which belief becomes fixed. What is repeated often enough, in moments of calm, becomes identity. This is not theory. It is observation, proven across generations of men who altered their lives by altering their inner patterns. Confidence that is installed this way does not collapse under pressure. It does not require constant reinforcement. It remains present because it has become familiar. You may notice subtle changes in the days ahead. Decisions may feel easier. Doubt may pause before speaking. Recovery from disappointment may come faster. These are signs that the inner agreement is shifting. Confidence does not arrive dramatically. It settles quietly. When you wake, you may not remember every word you heard. That is unimportant. The conscious mind does not need to remember. The subconscious has already recorded what it needs. Confidence will no longer be something you attempt to summon. It will be something you carry naturally, without thinking. This is not about becoming someone else. It is about removing the noise that concealed your natural steadiness. When the noise fades, strength feels familiar, almost obvious. Remain with the sound as long as you are comfortable. Duration deepens impression. Each moment reinforces the idea that you are capable, steady, and self-directed. By the time sleep takes you fully, the work will already be done. Confidence will no longer feel like effort. It will feel like alignment, quiet, stable, unshakable. I have learned through careful observation that confidence does not grow by effort alone, nor does it appear suddenly through excitement. It grows through familiarity. Whatever the mind becomes accustomed to, it accepts as natural. This law governs fear and confidence alike, without preference or judgment. The subconscious mind is impartial. It does not choose what to believe. It accepts what is repeated often enough, especially when repetition occurs during moments of calm. In these moments, resistance is low, and impressions pass inward without argument. Most men do not fail because they lack courage. They fail because doubt has become familiar. Familiarity gives doubt its authority. Confidence, when unfamiliar, feels uncertain. Confidence, when familiar, feels obvious. This explains why confidence can appear briefly and then vanish. It was introduced, but not rehearsed. The mind did not have time to accept it as normal. Without familiarity, belief remains fragile. The deeper mind governs habit. It governs posture, tone, timing, and reaction. It decides whether you pause calmly or rush nervously. It decides whether your voice steadies or softens under pressure. These decisions occur before conscious thought has time to intervene. When confidence is familiar, these responses align naturally. I have seen men change the course of their lives not by dramatic resolution, but by altering what they allowed their minds to dwell upon repeatedly. They replaced familiar doubt with familiar steadiness, and the change expressed itself without strain. The mind does not respond to desire as strongly as it responds to repetition. Desire may spark effort, but repetition forms habit. Habit becomes identity. This is why confidence impressed during rest endures longer than confidence summoned during effort. When the conscious mind relaxes, it stops defending old patterns. It no longer argues for doubt out of habit. In this receptive state, new impressions are accepted simply because they are present. As you listen now, you are not required to analyze or evaluate what is being said. Analysis belongs to effort. Familiarity belongs to absorption. The subconscious listens for tone and rhythm, not logic. Tone tells the mind whether something is safe to accept. A calm tone invites acceptance. Urgency invites resistance. Confidence grows best when the mind feels no urgency to change. You may notice that nothing is being demanded of you. There is no command to believe. There is no instruction to struggle. This absence of pressure is intentional. Confidence settles most deeply when the mind feels free. I recall a man who entered a new field of work later in life. He lacked experience, yet he carried himself with calm assurance. He did not announce confidence. He expected competence. Others responded accordingly, offering cooperation and opportunity without being asked. His confidence did not come from proof. It came from inner familiarity with self-trust. He had practiced trusting himself long before circumstances required it. The world mirrors what the mind accepts as normal. When the mind expects steadiness, behavior aligns. When behavior aligns, others respond differently. This cycle strengthens confidence further, without conscious planning. This is how confidence becomes self-reinforcing. The subconscious mind does not distinguish between imagined experience and repeated suggestion. Whatever is presented with consistency becomes familiar. Familiarity dissolves doubt without confrontation. This is why repetition is essential. Repetition does not convince, it normalizes. When confidence is normalized, doubt feels out of place. Many men attempt to overcome doubt by confronting it directly. This often strengthens doubt by granting it attention. Confidence grows not by confrontation, but by replacement. What is fed grows. What is neglected fades. As these words continue, fear is not being fought. It is simply being deprived of repetition. Confidence is being supplied quietly, steadily, without argument. You may notice a sense of ease as this happens. Ease is not indifference, it is alignment. The mind relaxes when inner conflict subsides. Conflict arises when the mind hears opposing instructions repeatedly. Alignment arises when one instruction becomes dominant. Confidence becomes dominant through familiarity. I have observed that confident men often appear ordinary until tested. Under pressure, their steadiness reveals itself. This steadiness was not improvised. It was practiced inwardly long before it was required. Night hours are particularly powerful for this practice because the mind is less distracted. Memories surface easily. Patterns replay naturally. When confidence replaces fear in these hours, identity begins to shift. You do not need to monitor this process. Monitoring invites effort. Effort invites resistance. Allow the words to pass through without inspection. The subconscious is already sorting what it needs. Confidence does not require belief to be forced. It requires exposure. Exposure repeated becomes familiarity. Familiarity becomes acceptance. Acceptance becomes behavior. Behavior becomes reputation. Reputation reinforces identity. This sequence unfolds naturally. When the subconscious is impressed calmly and consistently, you may recall moments when confidence felt natural in the past. Perhaps it appeared briefly, unexpectedly. Those moments reveal that confidence is not foreign to you. It simply requires reinforcement. The mind already knows how confidence feels. It is being reminded now. As this reminder repeats, the feeling becomes easier to access. Eventually, it becomes the default. When confidence is the default, effort disappears. You do not think about standing straight. You stand. You do not rehearse words. You speak. You do not debate action. You act. These behaviors appear simple, but they are the result of deep inner agreement. Others sense this agreement immediately. They may describe it as presence, steadiness, or reliability. They respond with trust because trust follows certainty naturally. Confidence does not ask to be trusted. It is trusted because it feels settled. The subconscious recognizes settlement as safety. Safety allows. Cooperation. This is why confidence influences outcomes without struggle. As you drift closer to sleep, awareness may soften. Let it soften. The work does not depend on alertness. It depends on repetition in calm. You may hear phrases more than once. This is intentional. Repetition in relaxation creates permanence where effort cannot. The mind learns standards through exposure. Confidence is becoming familiar. Doubt is becoming unnecessary. The balance is shifting. Quietly. Tomorrow, you may notice small differences. A pause where hesitation once appeared. A steadier tone in conversation. A quicker recovery from uncertainty. Do not search for these signs. Let them appear. Confidence expresses itself naturally when the mind stops interfering. Sleep is not interruption. It is continuation. The subconscious remains alert even as the body rests. It records patterns, reinforces familiarity, and prepares future reactions. By the time you wake, the inner agreement will already be different. Confidence will not announce itself. It will simply be present, quietly guiding how you move, speak, and decide. This is how unshakable confidence is formed. Not by force, not by struggle, but by familiarity impressed in calm. Remain with the sound. Let the repetition do its work. The mind is listening, and it is learning steadiness as its natural state. I have discovered through years of observation that confidence strengthens or weakens at the store. exact point where decision is made or avoided. There is no neutral ground here. Every time a man decides firmly, confidence grows. Every time he postpones decision, doubt is given room to expand. The mind learns from these moments more than from any lecture or resolve. Indecision is not merely delay, it is instruction. When the mind hesitates repeatedly, it teaches itself that certainty is unsafe. This lesson settles quietly, shaping future reactions long before the man becomes aware of it. Confidence cannot survive where decision is habitually postponed. Decision, in its true form, is not haste. It is finality. It is the moment when inner debate ends and direction becomes settled. When this occurs, the mind aligns its forces. Energy gathers. Confusion subsides. Confidence rises naturally because the mind senses order. I have known men of ordinary ability who surpassed others of greater talent simply because they decided and stood by their decisions. They did not always choose correctly, yet their confidence increased because they trusted themselves enough to act and adjust. The mind forgives error more easily than it forgives retreat. The subconscious mind responds immediately to decision. Once a choice is made and accepted inwardly, the mind begins to support it. Thoughts organize themselves around the decision. Opportunities become noticeable. Resistance lessens. This process occurs automatically, without conscious planning. Confidence appears at this moment, not as excitement, but as relief. Relief that the argument has ended. Relief that the mind no longer must weigh every possibility. This relief feels like calm authority. It is the natural state of a mind that knows its direction. Indecision exhausts the will. A man who debates inwardly throughout the day often feels tired without having accomplished anything. His energy has been spent in conflict rather than action. Confidence fades under such strain because the mind senses instability. I have observed that confident men are not those who never doubt, but those who decide before doubt becomes dominant. They acknowledge uncertainty, then choose. This habit prevents doubt from hardening into fear. Fear feeds on delay. Confidence feeds on commitment. The mind learns this distinction quickly. There was once a young man who approached a great enterprise without invitation or assurance. He did not know whether he would be received favorably, yet he decided to present himself as though his place were already earned. He stood by this decision calmly. His manner reflected finality, and finality commanded respect. People respond to finality instinctively. They may question ideas, but they trust firmness. This trust is not logical. It is sensed. When a man decides firmly, his voice changes, his posture steadies, his timing improves. These changes occur without effort. The subconscious expresses decision physically before the conscious mind can interfere. This is why decision must be installed inwardly, not rehearsed outwardly. Many men attempt to appear decisive without having settled their minds. This pretense collapses under pressure. Genuine confidence arises only when the mind itself has concluded its debate. Night hours provide an ideal setting for this conclusion. When the body rests and the conscious will relaxes, old arguments lose their strength. New decisions, introduced calmly, pass inward without resistance. As you listen now, you are not being asked to make a specific choice. You are being guided toward a habit of finality. This habit, once established, expresses itself naturally in daily life. Finality does not mean stubbornness. It means loyalty to direction until adjustment is required. The confident man adjusts without retreating from himself. He changes course without doubting his capacity to proceed. This distinction is vital. Retreat weakens confidence. Adjustment strengthens it. The mind records adjustment as intelligence, not failure. I have known men who altered their plans many times yet never lost confidence because each change was deliberate rather than evasive. They remained in command of themselves throughout. Command of self is the foundation of confidence. Indecision surrenders command. Decision restores it. The subconscious responds to command with cooperation. As you drift closer to sleep, the mind becomes less inclined to argue. In this receptive state, the idea of decisiveness is being impressed gently. You are not being urged to force action. You are being familiarized with the feeling of inner finality. This feeling is quiet. It feels like knowing rather than hoping. It does not require explanation. It does not rush. Confidence grows from this feeling. When the mind becomes accustomed to finality, hesitation loses its appeal. Delay feels uncomfortable. Action feels natural. This shift occurs gradually, without drama. You may notice in the coming days that decisions feel simpler. You may choose more quickly, not because you are careless, but because you trust your judgment more fully. This trust is the fruit of repetition. Repetition during rest shapes habit. Habit shapes character. Character expresses itself automatically. The confident man does not rehearse courage. He proceeds. He does not test himself constantly. He relies upon himself. This reliance has been learned through repeated acts of decision. Each time a man honors his decision, confidence thickens. Each time he abandons it without reason, confidence thins. The mind keeps precise record. I have seen men rebuild confidence by beginning with small decisions. They chose when to rise, when to work, when to rest, and they honored these choices quietly. Over time, the mind relearned trust. Confidence responds quickly to consistency. It does not require grand gestures. It requires reliability. As these words continue, reliability is being associated with calm, not pressure. The mind is learning that decision brings ease rather than strain. This is an important reversal. Many men associate decision with anxiety because past decisions were forced. When decision is introduced gently, during rest, the mind learns a new association. Decision becomes safety. Safety invites confidence. You are not being asked to decide everything now. You are being prepared to decide naturally when the moment arrives. The subconscious is learning how it feels to conclude rather than postpone. This learning will express itself later, often without your noticing. You may speak more plainly. You may pause less before acting. You may feel less need to justify your choices. These are signs that inner finality is taking root. Confidence installed this. Way does not collapse under criticism. It does not require agreement from others. It rests on inner settlement. Others sense this settlement and respond with respect, even when they disagree. This is why confident men are often described as steady rather than impressive. Steadiness is more persuasive than brilliance. As sleep approaches, the conscious mind loosens its hold further. The deeper mind remains attentive. It listens without resistance, accepting impressions as instructions. The idea that decision brings order is being reinforced now. The idea that hesitation breeds unrest is being released. These ideas are settling quietly. By morning, the mind will have accepted them as familiar. Confidence will express itself as calm readiness rather than excitement. You will not need to summon it. It will be present when needed. Remain with the sound. Let repetition do its work. Decision is becoming natural. Finality is becoming comfortable. Confidence is growing without effort. The mind is aligning itself quietly, and alignment always produces strength. I have long observed that confidence, once settled within the mind, announces itself without words. It appears first as presence. Before a man speaks, before he acts, before he makes his intentions known, others sense whether he is certain or uncertain. This sensing occurs instantly and without thought, because presence is felt, not reasoned. Presence is the outward expression of inner agreement. When the mind is no longer divided, the body follows naturally. Movements become deliberate. Gestures grow economical. The man no longer hurries to fill silence. Silence becomes comfortable rather than threatening. Many believe confidence must be displayed to be recognized. This belief is mistaken. Confidence is recognized precisely because it does not need display. It rests. It allows others to adjust to it rather than pushing itself forward. I have seen men enter rooms and alter the tone without saying a word. Conversation slowed, attention gathered. This did not occur because the men demanded notice, but because their inner steadiness removed uncertainty from the space they entered. Uncertainty creates tension. Certainty dissolves it. The body communicates certainty before the voice ever does. When the mind expects steadiness, the shoulders relax, the breath deepens, the eyes settle. These changes are not practiced. They are automatic responses to inner order. This is why attempts to imitate confident posture fail. Imitation without inner settlement feels forced. Genuine confidence feels natural because it is the result of inner alignment. I have known men who spoke little yet were listened to carefully. Their words carried weight because they were not rushed. Timing was precise because there was no urgency to prove value. Their confidence expressed itself through restraint. Restraint is often mistaken for hesitation by those who do not understand strength. In truth, restraint is decision held calmly until expression is required. The confident man knows when to act and when to wait, and both are acts of choice. Timing reveals confidence more clearly than boldness ever could. The man who trusts himself does not interrupt. He does not compete for attention. He speaks when his words serve a purpose. This selectiveness gives his speech influence without effort. Others respond instinctively to this influence. They lean in, they listen longer, they resist less. This response is not commanded. It is invited by presence. I have observed that confident men often appear unhurried even when time presses. This does not mean they lack urgency. It means they trust their ability to respond effectively. Hurry signals doubt. Calm signals readiness. The subconscious controls this signal. When confidence is impressed inwardly, the body no longer sends signals of alarm. Movement smooth, reaction steady. The man appears grounded because he is grounded. This grounding cannot be manufactured. It must be installed. As you listen now, the mind is being acquainted with calm authority. There is no demand to change behavior consciously. Behavior will change as belief settles. The mind will instruct the body naturally. You may notice that presence does not require effort. In fact, effort interferes with it. Presence emerges when effort withdraws. This is why sleep hours are so effective. The conscious will relaxes. The mind stops managing appearance. What remains is authenticity. Authentic confidence does not seek agreement. It remains firm even when disagreement arises. This firmness is felt as reliability. People trust reliability more than brilliance. I recall a man who was not the most eloquent speaker in his circle, yet his counsel was sought repeatedly. He did not argue. He did not persuade. He stated his view calmly and allowed others to consider it. His presence carried assurance that his words were grounded. This grounding invited respect. Respect followed presence. Confidence expressed this way does not fluctuate with praise or criticism. Praise does not inflate it. Criticism does not deflate it. The mind remains settled because its authority is internal. External response loses its power to disturb. This is the mark of confidence that has been impressed at the subconscious level. The confident man also listens differently. He listens without preparing defense. He listens without impatience. This openness strengthens presence further because others feel acknowledged without being challenged. Challenge invites resistance. Presence invites cooperation. I have watched negotiations turn simply because one man remained calm while others grew animated. His calm suggested control. Others adjusted unconsciously, softening their stance. This effect is not manipulation. It is alignment. Confidence aligns others without force. The mind that trusts itself does not need to dominate. It allows others to reveal themselves. This allowance often disarms opposition more effectively than argument ever could. As you drift toward sleep, the mind is learning that calm is strength. It is learning that silence can speak. It is learning that presence is more persuasive than display. These lessons are settling without effort. You are not required to remember them consciously. They will express themselves later through timing, tone, and posture. You may find that you pause more comfortably before speaking. You may feel less urgency to explain yourself. These changes are signs that inner authority is taking hold. Confidence does not remove feeling. It organizes it. Feeling no longer dictates action. Action follows decision. The body reflects this order. The voice steadies, movement slow. The man appears grounded because he is no longer divided. Others sense this grounding immediately. They may describe it as calm, certainty, or quiet strength. They may not know why they respond differently. They simply do. Confidence does not require recognition to function. It functions because it is real. As repetition continues during rest, presence becomes familiar. Familiarity removes self-consciousness. The man stops watching himself. Self-watching interferes with authority. Authority appears when attention turns outward calmly. The confident man does not occupy space anxiously. He occupies it fully. He is comfortable where he stands. This comfort invites trust. Trust is the natural response to steadiness. As sleep approaches, awareness may soften further. Let it soften. The subconscious remains alert, absorbing rhythm, tone, and meaning. Presence is being impressed as a natural state. You are not being taught to appear confident. You are being reminded how confidence feels when it is no longer questioned. This feeling will guide behavior automatically. In the coming days, you may notice that interactions feel simpler. You may feel less compelled to rush, explain, or persuade. Others may respond with more patience and attention. These are natural results of inner authority. Confidence does not announce itself. It reveals itself quietly through presence. Remain with the sound. Allow repetition to continue. The mind is learning calm. The body will follow. Presence will emerge naturally, and confidence will express itself without effort. I have found that confidence reaches a deeper and more enduring form when a man learns to rely upon himself. This reliance is not blind faith, nor is it boastful belief. It is the quiet knowledge that when a decision is made, it will be honored. The mind learns confidence through evidence, and the most convincing evidence is kept promises. Every promise a man makes to himself is a test of authority. When the promise is kept, the mind records strength. When it is broken without reason, the mind records doubt. Over time, these records accumulate and become identity. Confidence is not imagined. It is remembered. Many men weaken their confidence without realizing it, not through great failures, but through small neglects. They decide to act, then postpone. They resolve to complete a task, then abandon it quietly. The mind notices every retreat, even when the man pretends not to. Self-reliability is built in ordinary moments. The confident man understands this law. He does not make promises lightly. He chooses his commitments carefully, then honors them without drama. This habit teaches the subconscious that its leader is dependable. Dependability calms the mind. A calm mind expresses confidence naturally. I have observed men who were not especially bold nor unusually gifted, yet inspired trust wherever they went. Their confidence came not from bravado, but from consistency. They could be counted upon. Their word carried weight because it was rarely withdrawn. Others felt this reliability instinctively. Trust followed without effort. The subconscious responds powerfully to repetition of completed action. Each time a man finishes what he begins, the mind strengthens its belief in his authority. Each time he abandons a task, authority weakens. Confidence grows not from ambition alone, but from follow-through. Ambition without completion breeds frustration. Completion breeds self-respect. Self-respect is confidence solidified. This is why confidence can feel fragile in those who dream greatly but act inconsistently. The mind cannot trust promises that are not fulfilled. It grows cautious. Doubt appears as a form of self-protection. When consistency returns, doubt retreats. Night hours provide an ideal setting for restoring this trust. As the conscious mind rests, memories of action and inaction surface naturally. The subconscious evaluates patterns without judgment, only record. As you listen now, the mind is being reminded of a simple truth. Reliability produces calm. Calm produces confidence. You are not being urged to do more. You are being guided to do what you decide to do. This distinction matters. The confident man is not hurried by endless obligation. He chooses fewer commitments and honors them fully. This selectiveness preserves energy and strengthens authority. Others sense this authority. They respond differently to a man whose word is dependable. They listen more carefully. They question less. They trust instinctively. Trust is not demanded. It is earned through repetition. I recall a man who rose steadily within a large enterprise, not because he spoke often, but because he completed difficult tasks others avoided. He volunteered for responsibility and carried it quietly. Over time, his confidence grew because his mind trusted him. Others trusted him for the same reason. Confidence formed inwardly always expresses itself outwardly. Self-reliability also teaches the mind patience. When a man honors his word, even when results are delayed, the mind learns endurance. Endurance steadies confidence during uncertainty. The man who abandons effort at the first sign of delay teaches his mind impatience. Impatience weakens confidence because it signals dependence on immediate reward. Confidence grows strongest when action is guided by principle rather than outcome. As repetition continues during rest, the idea of honoring one's word is being associated with ease rather than strain. The mind is learning that consistency simplifies life. It removes inner conflict. Inner conflict drains strength. Resolution restores it. You may notice that when you keep a promise, even a small one, there is a subtle sense of order afterward. This order is the mind, recognizing alignment. Confidence is the feeling of alignment made familiar. Many men seek confidence through praise or recognition. These sources are unstable. Praise can be withdrawn. Recognition can fade. Self-reliability remains because it is internal. The confident man does not depend on being noticed. He depends on being consistent. This dependence strengthens him quietly. As sleep approaches, the conscious mind relaxes further. The deeper mind remains alert, recording impressions. The idea that I do what I decide is being reinforced without effort. This idea will express itself later through steadier action. You may find that you begin completing tasks without debate. You may notice less negotiation with yourself. These changes signal that self-trust is being restored. Confidence returns when the mind no longer doubts its own authority. Authority is earned through repetition of honored decisions. Repetition during calm fixes. Habit. Habit fixes character. Character expresses confidence naturally. Others will notice before you do. They may comment that you seem more reliable, more grounded, more certain. You need not explain. Explanation weakens authority. Let consistency speak. Confidence does not require announcement. It is recognized by results. As you drift toward sleep, let this understanding settle without effort. You are not being asked to change overnight. You are being guided toward a pattern of reliability that builds confidence gradually and permanently. Each day will offer small opportunities to honor your word. Each completed action will strengthen belief. Each strengthened belief will calm the mind. Confidence will grow quietly from this calm. Remain with the sound. Allow repetition to continue. The mind is learning reliability as its natural state, and reliability always produces confidence that does not shake. I have observed that confidence reaches its most stable form when it no longer requires attention. At this stage, confidence is not summoned, practiced, or defended. It operates quietly, much like breathing, directing action without conscious supervision. This is the point where belief has passed from thought into identity. The subconscious mind governs identity. It decides what feels natural and what feels foreign. When confidence is installed here, Doubt becomes unnatural. It may still appear briefly, but it no longer feels convincing. The mind recognizes it as unfamiliar and releases it without effort. This change does not occur through excitement or strain. It occurs through calm repetition. The subconscious learns through rhythm, tone, and consistency. What is presented gently, again and again, becomes accepted as truth. I have known men who once struggled to feel confident in simple situations, yet later moved through those same situations without thought. Their confidence was not something they remembered to use. It had become their normal state. Normality is the final seal of belief. When confidence becomes normal, it no longer rises and falls with circumstance. It remains present in success and in delay, in approval and in criticism. The mind no longer asks, "Am I confident?" It proceeds as though the matter were already settled. This settlement is what gives confidence its unshakable quality. The subconscious does not argue with what it has accepted. It obeys. When confidence is accepted as identity, behavior aligns automatically. Tone steadies. Decisions simplify. Recovery from uncertainty becomes quick and natural. This is why confidence installed during rest endures. The conscious mind cannot interfere. Old habits lose their authority. New patterns form quietly. As you listen now, there is no demand to change anything. Demands awaken resistance. What is happening here is exposure. Exposure, repeated calmly, teaches the mind familiarity. Familiarity removes doubt. I have observed that confident men often seem unaware of their confidence. They are not monitoring themselves. They are not evaluating their performance. They are simply present. This presence is the outward sign that confidence has become identity. Self-observation weakens confidence. Self-trust strengthens it. When the mind trusts itself, it stops watching itself. The night hours are especially powerful for establishing this trust. The body rests. The will loosens. The mind becomes receptive. Suggestions pass inward without challenge. Identity adjusts gently. This is why you may drift in and out of awareness. Conscious attention is not required. The deeper mind remains alert, absorbing impressions and reinforcing stability. Repetition is occurring now without effort. The idea that you are steady is being impressed. The idea that you are capable is being normalized. The idea that you recover easily is being accepted. These ideas do not feel dramatic. They feel quiet. This quietness is the sign of permanence. I have seen men mistake excitement for confidence. Excitement fades quickly. Confidence remains because it is not dependent on emotion. It is dependent on belief settled beneath awareness. Belief settled beneath awareness directs conduct without noise. The confident man does not feel compelled to assert himself. He does not feel diminished by waiting. He does not feel threatened by delay. His identity is not attached to immediate outcome. This detachment is not indifference. It is security. Security allows patience. Patience preserves confidence under pressure. As this part continues, the subconscious is learning that confidence does not require defense. It does not need constant reassurance. It stands on its own foundation. You may notice a growing sense of ease. This ease is not laziness. It is alignment. Alignment removes friction. Friction drains energy. Confidence thrives where friction is absent. The mind is now associating calm with strength, strength with safety, safety with identity. This chain is being forged quietly. Others will sense this change in you without knowing why. They may respond with more respect, more patience, or more openness. This is not because you demand it, but because your presence signals steadiness. Steadiness invites cooperation. Cooperation reinforces confidence further. This cycle becomes self-sustaining once identity is established. I have observed that men who reach this stage no longer speak often of confidence. They speak of work, of responsibility, of direction. Confidence has moved beneath the surface. It no longer requires language. Language belongs to thought. Identity belongs to belief. Belief now governs thought. As sleep approaches more deeply, the conscious mind releases control. The subconscious remains engaged. It records impressions continuously. Even silence reinforces what has already been accepted. Silence is not absence, it is confirmation. The absence of inner argument confirms that belief has settled. Confidence no longer competes with doubt, it has replaced it. You may notice that fear feels less convincing, even when it appears. It no longer commands immediate attention. It feels like a suggestion rather than a threat. This shift is significant. When fear loses authority, confidence does not need to fight it. It simply proceeds. This is the mark of identity-level confidence. You are not becoming confident. You are remembering confidence as your natural state. The mind recognizes what belongs. What belongs remains. What does not belong fades. As you rest, allow this understanding to settle without effort. There is nothing to complete, nothing to fix. The installation is occurring quietly, steadily, thoroughly. Tomorrow, confidence will express itself in ordinary ways. You may notice steadier decisions, easier movement, less self-questioning. These are not dramatic changes. They are signs of normality returning. Confidence feels ordinary when it is complete. Ordinary does not mean weak. It means stable. Stability is the foundation of all lasting strength. Remain with the sound. Let. Repetition continue. The subconscious is sealing confidence as identity. It will remain. Quiet, steady, unshakable. I have learned that confidence, once installed, must be protected from a subtle enemy. This enemy does not arrive loudly. It does not announce itself as fear or doubt. It arrives quietly, disguised as ease, comfort, and the slow surrender of intention. I have named this condition drift, and it is the greatest destroyer of confidence ever known. Drift does not demand failure. It invites neglect. A man does not wake one morning lacking confidence. He allows small decisions to go unmade. He tolerates disorder. He postpones effort. The mind, observing this pattern, withdraws trust quietly and without warning. Confidence requires attention, but not strain. Attention preserves order. Order preserves authority. The confident man remains deliberate even when nothing urgent demands his action. He does not allow days to pass without intention. He chooses how he begins his day, how he spends his hours, and how he concludes his efforts. These choices need not be severe. They must only be conscious. I have observed that men often lose confidence during periods of comfort rather than difficulty. Difficulty awakens effort. Comfort invites forgetfulness. The mind, left unattended, returns to habit. If habit is careless, confidence erodes. This erosion feels like restlessness. Restlessness is confidence thinning. Drift rarely feels dangerous at first. It feels like relief. The man tells himself he will decide later. He allows his standards to soften. The mind accepts this softening as instruction. Instruction repeated becomes identity. The confident man understands this law and guards his standards quietly. He does not live rigidly, but he lives deliberately. He chooses rest rather than falling into it. He chooses effort rather than waiting for pressure. Choice preserves confidence. Waiting surrenders it. I have seen men of great promise lose their edge, not through hardship, but through ease. Their confidence faded because they stopped choosing. They lived by reaction rather than intention. Over time, the mind lost its sense of command. Command is confidence expressed inwardly. The night hours reveal drift clearly. When the mind is quiet, unfinished matters surface. Postponed decisions speak. Neglected duties reappear. These impressions shape belief. As you listen now, the subconscious is being reminded that attention preserves strength. Not anxious attention, but calm awareness. Awareness that asks quietly, am I choosing or am I drifting? This question restores authority. The confident man does not fear this question. He welcomes it. It keeps him aligned. Alignment feels calm. Drift feels uneasy. Unease is the mind signaling loss of direction. Confidence returns when direction is restored. I have observed that confident men treat time with respect. They do not rush it, nor do they waste it. They recognize that hours are shaped either by decision or by default. Default belongs to drift. Decision belongs to confidence. You may notice that drift often appears when effort is not required. This is why leisure must be chosen carefully. Leisure without intention weakens confidence. Rest chosen deliberately restores it. The difference is subtle but decisive. Chosen rest renews authority. Unconscious rest dissolves it. As repetition continues during rest, the idea of deliberate living is being impressed calmly. The mind is learning that attention is safety. Safety allows confidence to remain present. You are not being urged to constant effort. Constant effort exhausts. You are being guided toward steady intention. Intention does not tire the mind. It organizes it. Organization strengthens confidence. I have known men who regained lost confidence simply by restoring simple structure to their days. They rose when they decided to rise. They completed modest tasks. They honored small commitments. The mind responded quickly, restoring trust. Confidence returns when reliability returns. Drift dissolves when choice resumes. As you drift toward sleep, allow this understanding to settle without urgency. There is nothing to defend, only to remember. Confidence remains when the mind stays awake to itself. Awake does not mean tense, it means present. Presence prevents drift. The subconscious is learning now that ease does not require surrender. Comfort does not require abandonment of standards. Confidence can coexist with rest when rest is chosen. This lesson protects confidence long after effort fades. You may find in the coming days that you notice moments of drift more quickly. This noticing is not criticism. It is authority returning. When authority returns, confidence follows naturally. The confident man does not condemn himself for drifting. He corrects calmly. Correction strengthens authority. Condemnation weakens it. This calm correction is being practiced now. Beneath awareness, drift loses power when it is recognized early. Recognition restores choice. Choice restores confidence. As sleep approaches more deeply, repetition continues quietly. The mind is absorbing the idea that deliberate living is natural, that awareness preserves strength, that confidence thrives where intention remains. Nothing further is required. Just remain with the sound. Let the deeper mind record steadiness as its standard. Confidence is no longer fragile. It is being guarded quietly. And what is guarded with calm attention remains unshaken. I have discovered that confidence reaches a depth no disturbance can reach when a man connects it to purpose. Confidence that exists for its own sake remains shallow. Confidence that grows from usefulness becomes firm. When a man knows he is of service, doubt loses its voice. Purpose steadies the mind because it turns attention outward. Fear thrives when attention circles inward endlessly. Confidence grows when attention moves toward contribution. The mind becomes calm when it knows it is needed. I have observed that men who feel most uncertain often ask themselves what they deserve. Confident men ask a different question. They ask what they can give. This change of direction alters the mind immediately. Service dissolves hesitation. Usefulness anchors confidence. When a man knows his efforts matter beyond himself, his confidence ceases to depend on approval. Approval becomes pleasant rather than necessary. Criticism loses its power to wound. The subconscious recognizes usefulness as safety. Safety invites steadiness. Steadiness is confidence refined. I have known men who entered difficult circumstances with calm assurance, simply because they felt responsible for something beyond their own comfort. Their confidence was not personal, it was functional. They were needed, and that need organized their thought. This organization quieted fear. Fear thrives in idle minds. Purpose occupies the mind fully. When the mind is occupied meaningfully, doubt has no space to linger. As you listen now, the idea of usefulness is being impressed without effort. You are not being told to achieve more. You are being reminded that contribution, however modest, stabilizes identity. Identity stabilizes confidence. The confident man does not measure himself by comparison. Comparison distracts from purpose. He measures himself by whether he fulfills what he has chosen to do. Fulfillment produces satisfaction. Satisfaction quiets restlessness. Restlessness undermines confidence. I have observed that men who dedicate themselves to a definite service recover quickly from disappointment. Setbacks do not feel personal. They feel instructional. The mind remains oriented forward rather than inward. Orientation determines feeling. Feeling follows direction. Confidence follows purpose. Purpose does not require grand design. It requires sincerity. A man may serve through work, through care, through leadership, or through example. The form matters less than the commitment. Commitment steadies thought. Steady thought produces confidence. I recall a man whose confidence was unshaken, even during financial strain. He focused on improving his service rather than lamenting circumstance. This focus restored opportunity naturally. Opportunity follows usefulness as surely as night follows day. The mind learns confidence by seeing itself produce value. Value does not require applause. It requires effort directed beyond self. As sleep approaches, the subconscious is learning that confidence grows when attention is placed on contribution. The idea that I am useful is being normalized. This idea dissolves doubt without confrontation. Doubt questions worth. Usefulness answers it. The confident man does not need to convince himself of worth. He experiences it through action. Action directed toward service anchors belief. Belief anchors confidence. Others sense this orientation. They respond differently to men who carry purpose quietly. They feel reassured. They feel supported. They feel less threatened. Purpose softens interaction. Softness invites trust. Trust reinforces confidence further. This cycle strengthens itself once established. As repetition continues during rest, the mind associates confidence with usefulness rather than display. Display becomes unnecessary. Confidence feels grounded rather than inflated. This grounding prevents arrogance. Arrogance is false confidence, attempting to protect itself. True confidence has no need to protect. You may notice in the days ahead that your attention shifts naturally toward what needs to be done rather than how you appear. This shift reduces self-consciousness. Reduced self-consciousness strengthens presence. Presence strengthens influence. Influence flows naturally from purpose. The confident man does not seek importance. He becomes important by being reliable in service. Others sense this reliability instinctively. I have observed that men who live this way feel less anxious about the future. They trust that usefulness creates opportunity. They focus on doing what lies before them well. This focus steadies the mind. Steady minds do not fear uncertainty. As you drift toward sleep, allow this understanding to settle without effort. You are not required to define purpose precisely now. The mind only needs to accept that contribution strengthens confidence. This acceptance is enough. The subconscious is recording the association between usefulness and calm. Calm and confidence are becoming linked. Confidence is being anchored beyond self-interest. This anchor will hold when other supports weaken. Remain with the sound. Let repetition continue. Purpose is quieting the mind. Usefulness is strengthening. Belief, confidence is becoming unshakable. I have observed that confidence reaches its final test when certainty of outcome disappears. Many men feel assured only while results seem predictable. When the future grows indistinct, their confidence weakens. This reveals not lack of ability, but misplaced trust. Confidence that depends upon certainty of result has not yet matured. The confident man does not require foresight. He requires trust in his own capacity to respond. This trust steadies him when direction is unclear. He moves forward without demanding assurance. Knowing that adjustment is always possible, uncertainty frightens only the man who doubts his own resourcefulness. Resourcefulness is confidence expressed in action. I have known men who advanced into unknown conditions with calm assurance, not because they possessed perfect plans, but because they trusted their judgment. Their confidence rested not on prediction, but on response. Response is the final measure of confidence. The subconscious learns confidence most deeply when it experiences survival and adaptation. Each time a man meets uncertainty and remains steady, belief strengthens. The mind records, "I endured, I adjusted." I continued. These records accumulate quietly. Confidence grows from memory of adaptation. Fear grows from memory of retreat. The difference lies in action taken. I have observed that many men delay action until 16. Clarity appears. Clarity rarely appears before movement. Movement reveals clarity. Confidence allows movement without certainty. This is not recklessness. It is faith in one's capacity to learn. Learning is confidence refined. The confident man understands that the unknown is not hostile. It is simply undefined. Definition arrives through engagement. The mind that trusts itself does not fear engagement. Fear asks, "What if?" Confidence answers, "I will respond." This answer quiets the mind. As you listen now, the subconscious is being introduced gently to the idea that uncertainty is not danger, it is space. Space allows growth. Growth strengthens confidence further. This idea is settling without resistance. The night hours are particularly effective for this impression. When the mind is quiet, imagined futures lose intensity. The mind becomes receptive to steadiness rather than speculation. Speculation fuels fear. Presence fuels confidence. The confident man remains present even when the future is unclear. He attends to what lies before him without anxiety. This attention prevents the mind from racing ahead into imagined difficulty. Racing weakens confidence. Steady attention restores it. I have observed men who maintained confidence through great change because they remained anchored in principle rather than circumstance. Principles do not shift when conditions do. Confidence rooted in principle remains intact. Circumstances change. Principle endures. The subconscious recognizes endurance as safety. Safety allows calm. Calm preserves confidence. You may notice that as confidence matures, impatience fades. The need for immediate certainty lessens. Waiting becomes possible without distress. This waiting is not hesitation. It is readiness. Readiness is confidence at rest. The confident man waits without anxiety because he trusts his response when the moment arrives. He does not rehearse every possibility. He does not attempt to control what cannot yet be shaped. Control exhausts the mind. Trust steadies it. As repetition continues during rest, the mind is learning that trust in response is sufficient. The idea that "I will handle what comes" is being normalized. This idea does not excite the mind. It calms it. Calm is the sign that belief is settling. I have known men who faced loss, transition, and reversal without losing themselves. They felt disappointment, yet remained intact. Their confidence did not depend on preservation of circumstance. It depended on preservation of self-command. Self-command survives change. Change tests confidence only when identity is tied to outcome. Identity tied to principle remains free. As sleep approaches, the conscious mind releases control further. The deeper mind remains alert, recording impressions. The association between uncertainty and steadiness is being strengthened quietly. You are not being urged to welcome uncertainty actively. You are being prepared to meet it without fear. This preparation is sufficient. In the days ahead, you may notice that unexpected events disturb you less. You may recover more quickly from surprise. These changes signal that confidence is no longer dependent on predictability. Confidence has shifted from outcome to capacity. Capacity endures. The confident man does not deny difficulty. He accepts responsibility for response. This acceptance restores authority immediately. Authority calms the mind. Calm guides action. Action reveals opportunity. Opportunity strengthens confidence further. This cycle becomes self-sustaining once trust in response is established. As you drift towards sleep, let this understanding rest without effort. The future does not require your control. It requires your presence. Presence guided by confidence is enough. The subconscious is learning that the unknown does not threaten identity. Identity remains intact regardless of circumstance. This lesson dissolves fear quietly. Remain with the sound. Allow repetition to continue. Confidence is learning to stand without guarantees, and confidence that stands without guarantees cannot be shaken. I have come to understand that confidence reaches its highest form when it is no longer discussed, examined, or tested. At this stage, confidence becomes silence within the mind, a silence not of emptiness, but of agreement. The inner debate has ended. The question of worth no longer arises. This silence is not dullness. It is clarity. The confident man does not feel compelled to measure himself. Measurement belongs to uncertainty. When confidence is complete, the mind ceases comparison. It no longer looks outward for confirmation. It rests inwardly, knowing itself capable. Knowing removes effort. Effort signals doubt. I have observed that men who reach this stage of confidence move through life with an ease that cannot be imitated. Their ease is not carelessness. It is freedom from inner resistance. They do not strain against themselves. They proceed. Proceeding without strain is confidence perfected. Such men do not announce belief. They do not speak often of strength. Their confidence is evident in how they wait, how they listen, and how they respond when response is required. Silence becomes one of their strongest expressions. Silence speaks clearly when confidence is present. I have known men who stood quietly in moments of tension while others hurried to fill space. Their calm altered the direction of events without argument. Confidence, when complete, guides circumstance without effort. This guidance does not come from control. It comes from steadiness. Steadiness influences more deeply than force ever could. At this stage, confidence no longer depends on habit alone. Habit has already done its work. Confidence has become character. Character acts automatically, even when habit is interrupted by fatigue or change. This is permanence. The subconscious no longer questions authority. It obeys. It supports action without hesitation. It releases doubt quickly, without struggle. Doubt appears briefly and passes, like a thought without attachment. Attachment is what gives doubt its strength. Confidence dissolves attachment. I have observed that confident men at this stage feel little need to explain themselves. Explanation often serves as defense. Defense implies threat. Confidence feels no threat. Feeling no threat restores calm. Calm restores clarity. Clarity guides action. This sequence no longer requires conscious attention. It unfolds naturally, as breathing does. As you listen now, there is nothing further to install. What has been repeated has already settled. The subconscious recognizes familiarity and accepts it fully. Confidence has become the standard. Standards guide behavior automatically. Behavior aligned with standard feels natural. Natural confidence does not fluctuate. You may notice that your inner life feels quieter. This quiet is not absence, it is order. Order feels like peace. Peace feels like strength when it is chosen rather than imposed. Peace imposed weakens. Peace chosen strengthens. The confident man carries peace into difficulty without losing alertness. He is calm, not complacent. Calm sharpens perception. Perception guides correct action. Correct action reinforces confidence further. This reinforcement now occurs without effort. I have seen men who lost everything external and yet remained confident because their confidence was no longer tied to possession, position, or praise. It was tied to self-command. Self-command cannot be taken. This is the final security. At this stage, confidence does not fear solitude. It does not depend on company. It does not shrink in silence. It grows more comfortable there. Comfort with oneself is the final sign of confidence. The man who is comfortable alone is not lonely. He is complete. He welcomes others without dependence. He stands without audience. Audience is no longer required. Approval is no longer sought. This freedom releases enormous energy. Energy released through freedom expresses itself as quiet vitality. Vitality without. Strain endures. As sleep approaches fully, allow this understanding to rest without effort. There is no need to remember it. It will remain beneath awareness, guiding instinct, shaping response, and steadying action. Confidence has completed its movement inward. It will now express itself outwardly without announcement. You will notice it not in moments of triumph, but in ordinary hours, in how you rise, in how you decide, in how you wait, in how you recover. Others will notice before you do. They will feel steadiness. They will sense reliability. They will respond accordingly. Confidence does not demand recognition. It receives it naturally. As the conscious mind releases fully into rest, the subconscious remains attentive. It guards what has been installed. It rejects what no longer belongs. Fear no longer feels familiar. Doubt no longer feels convincing. Confidence feels ordinary. Ordinary does not mean small. It means stable. Stability is unshakable. Strength. Nothing more needs to be added. Nothing needs to be repeated. Confidence has taken its place. It will remain when you wake. It will remain when you speak. It will remain when you decide. It will remain when you are silent, quiet, steady, unshakable. This is the final condition, and it is complete. There comes a moment in the life of every man when striving must give way to acceptance. Not acceptance of limitation, but acceptance of self. When this moment arrives, confidence no longer feels like something to be achieved. It feels like something that has been reclaimed. The man recognizes that what he sought outwardly had always existed inwardly, waiting for permission to remain. This permission is not granted by the world. It is granted privately, without ceremony, by the man himself. When granted fully, confidence ceases to rise and fall. It remains. Remaining is its final form. I have spent years observing men who reached this condition without knowing how they arrived. They could not explain it, yet it was evident in their manner. They moved without haste. They spoke without excess. They listened without impatience. Their confidence was not loud, but it was unmistakable. This confidence did not come from victory alone. Many victorious men lacked it. It came from inner agreement, a settled understanding that they could rely upon themselves regardless of outcome. Outcome loses its power when self-trust is complete. At this stage, confidence no longer resists fear. Resistance gives fear attention. Instead, fear passes without attachment. It appears briefly, then dissolves, because it finds no familiar ground in which to settle. The mind no longer rehearses imagined failure. It rests in readiness. Readiness is calm, alertness, not tension. It is the quiet certainty that whatever arrives will be met adequately. This certainty removes strain from life. Strain is the effort of becoming. Confidence is the ease of being. I have known men who carried this ease into hardship without complaint. They did not deny difficulty. They did not dramatize it. They adjusted, endured, and continued. Their confidence was not shaken because it was not built upon comfort. Comfort is temporary. Self-command is permanent. The man who has reached this point does not feel compelled to announce belief. Belief no longer requires defense. It has been proven inwardly through repetition, discipline, and honest self-observation. Honest self-observation is the foundation of lasting confidence. Without honesty, belief remains fragile. With honesty, belief becomes grounded. Grounded belief does not drift. Drift requires neglect. Neglect is no longer possible when self-trust is present. As confidence matures, the mind grows quieter. Thoughts become fewer, but clearer. Decision becomes simpler. Reaction slows. Response improves. These changes do not feel dramatic. They feel natural. Naturalness is the mark of completion. The man no longer asks whether he is confident. The question no longer arises. He simply proceeds. Proceeding without question is confidence embodied. I have observed that such men are often misunderstood by those who have not reached this stage. Their calm may be mistaken for indifference. Their silence may be mistaken for uncertainty. Yet when action is required, they act decisively and without confusion. This decisiveness surprises others because it was not advertised. Confidence does not advertise. It arrives when needed. The man who lives this way does not chase reassurance. He does not seek constant confirmation. He trusts his judgment because he has tested it through action and correction. Correction strengthens confidence more than perfection ever could. Perfection invites fear. Correction invites growth. Growth stabilizes. Belief. As years pass, confidence deepens further. It becomes less expressive outwardly and more influential inwardly. The man becomes comfortable with ambiguity. He no longer rushes to close questions prematurely. He allows understanding to form fully before acting. This patience is not hesitation. It is maturity. Maturity does not weaken confidence. It refines it. I have seen men grow more confident with age, not because they became stronger in body, but because they became settled in mind. They no longer attempted to prove themselves. They simply lived according to their standards. Standards, once chosen and honored, free the mind from doubt. The mind no longer asks, "Am I enough?" It knows the answer through experience. Experience is the final teacher of confidence. No words can replace it. Words can guide. Experience confirms. This epilogue exists to allow what has already been learned to remain undisturbed. There is nothing new to introduce, nothing to reinforce aggressively. Confidence that is forced does not endure. Confidence that is allowed remains. As you rest now, the mind does not need to listen actively. It has already accepted what belongs. It will reject what does not belong without effort. This is the advantage of settled belief. Fear requires attention to survive. Confidence survives without it. You may notice that your thoughts grow slower. This slowness is not dullness. It is space. Space allows clarity. Clarity guides action. Action guided by clarity feels simple. Simplicity is strength refined. The man who lives from this place no longer divides life into moments of confidence and moments of doubt. Confidence remains present even when doubt appears. Doubt no longer commands behavior. Command has returned to its rightful place, within. This return is irreversible unless willingly surrendered. And you will not surrender it, because surrender would feel foreign now. What feels foreign is rejected. What feels familiar remains. Confidence is now familiar. As sleep deepens, allow the body to rest fully. There is no need to hold attention. The subconscious remains awake to what has already been accepted. It preserves identity faithfully. Identity is no longer fragile. It does not require guarding. It simply expresses itself. Tomorrow, and in the days that follow, confidence will reveal itself quietly. In how you rise without reluctance, in how you decide without prolonged debate, in how you recover without self-criticism. Others will sense it. They may describe it as calm, steadiness, or assurance. They may not know its source. You will not need to explain. Explanation is no longer required. The work has been done, not through strain, not through force, but through repetition, calm and honest self-command. Confidence has returned to its natural place. It will remain there, quiet, steady, unshakable, and that is enough.